tool to make these critiques. I think it was absolutely great.
Hey, guess what? It wasn't going, the broadcast. That's okay. It's okay. But we're going to get the rest of it. Somebody was letting me know. Somebody let me know. I was like, something had happened on my internet, like, wavered. And so it had shut off. So, like, now we're back. And now it's, like, live. So if people are watching now, we are talking around the world in a day. We are talking about America. And kind of like how it was a bit of an Americana kind of song, but it's also like a critique of America and condemnation of America. And but kind of the sound was very much in line with what, like you said, with James Brown from the Rocky. And it's kind of like he was giving us a new anthem to think about that. So it's all good. It's all good.
Living in America. That was the name of it.
Living in America. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and then you think about like Eminem's White America and like some of these other folks that have later come to critique us. So let me see. Let me just double check and see. Hold on. I'm just pause a little second. I just want to make sure one of my followers says it. Let me see. What about now? Okay. Okay. Hold on. I'm just gonna. I'm sorry. Oh, they see us now. Okay. That's all right. So, for those of you that are just joining us, I'm sorry. Technology sucks. We're like working this out. We have been talking about Prince's album Around the World in a Day. I'm here with Patrick Shaffer, one of my really, really great friends. We have been talking about our love of Prince and kind of revisiting this album that has songs like Around the World in a Day, Paisley Park, Raspberry Beret, Condition of the Heart, Tambourine, and we just finished talking about America. And now we're going to go into what I think is probably the song that Black people love the most. I don't know. What do you think?
No, absolutely.
Okay, let's get into this one because this is the one that they'll still play in the clubs. Like, you're gonna get this. Like, if the DJ goes into a Prince set, you're gonna get this. Let's see if I can turn this up a little bit. All right. All right. Let me check on my other stuff. Make sure. You just gotta let this one ride out for a second because I love this song so much.
Absolutely. No.
What's the matter with your world?
So I think one of the things I love about this song is when you take out, if you play it in your headphones, right? You take one out, you're going to hear one time. You put the other one in, you're going to hear a different time. The way he layered it is off by like milliliters of a second. Like, it's off. It's an echo he creates in there. And it's, I don't know why he did that, but it's great. The song is off.
Yeah.
You ever notice that? Like, it's layered.
It has a delay on it. It gives it a very warm feel.
Yes.
Gosh, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good.
Oh my gosh. All right. So what do we think about this song?
Well, this is, in some ways, this is his clap back at Morris, right? You know, Morris was on drugs during Purple Rain. So what you put in your nose is that where your money goes. Morris he wanted to be the guy, you know, which is why he left the time, because he didn't want to be under Prince's thumb. And I have some criticisms of Prince and how he managed musicians and let them live and breathe and come into their fullness. But that wasn't what this world was. So I think he's going to get into, around this time, he's writing for Maserati and trying to create the family. And he's going to write Mutiny, which is, his clap back at Morris and Jesse Johnson. So I think Pop Life is a social critique, but it is also, he's talking specifically to some people that were around him who he felt like, that can only be, everybody can't be on top. Like everybody can't be me. Like, so and that's one prism to it. And then you can look broader, kind of macro, looking at the world and critiquing the drug culture that was coming up. And you know, it could be a clap back at Rick James. You know, it could be a commentary of a lot of what he was saying at that time. So it's just a richly profound record to me.
Yeah. I also thought it was, like as I was saying earlier, for those who missed that part, I was saying that there was a point where Prince was coming to understand what it meant to be a pop star. And I don't think he liked it too much. And as all these other folks were really kind of bursting through the scene, Whitney, Michael, Madonna, all these others, it's like, this is what pop life is. And then I'm sure as you're touring and you're doing stuff, you're starting to see stuff behind the scenes. And back then, like, he wasn't indulging. I don't think he was one of those ones that was like really into drugs. I think he was like kind of notoriously like, nah, because his dad was an alcoholic and he was just like, I'm not a part of this. And I think he's starting to see that that's what this pop scene is. And this is what it means to be a pop artist. And so I thought that Pop Life was definitely like a comment on that. And I like what you're saying about Morris, and I definitely get that. I think that this is also when he starts talking about drugs, right? Because this is when crack starts to hit the scene too. And, you know, we'll hear that in Sign of the Times, talking about shooting up and things like that. And, you know, this is when he starts explicitly kind of talking about what's happening in society as like the drug culture is like rising again. So you think of like popping pills and things like that pop life as well. So that's just kind of like what I lean more, you know, what I got from it. But I really appreciate, like you saying this stuff about Morris. I thought that's pretty awesome. I had not thought about that before. All right, so the next song, what do we have here? We have The Ladder.
Yeah, one of my faves.
Talk to me about The Ladder. Why is The Ladder one of your faves?
It's what I recognized very early on sonically. My dad was a musician and he played gospel music, and so I heard a lot of my dad in the chord progressions in The Ladder. I think that it was one of his, you know, very gospel songs. I think it is, he needed another anthem, as Purple Rain was on Purple Rain. Like The Ladder is to Around the World in a Day. And it's a hymn in terms of him pointing out we're all searching, we're all looking. And it is transcendent. Like, you know, look up. We're all, even in popping pills or doing whatever we're doing, we're all needing some space filled in ourselves. And it's like, you know, it's about God. And he was very religious. I think that we could actually pull all his Christian, you know, Christ songs, and it could fill a whole album over the course of his catalog, his body of work. So to me, this was a gospel. It was as gospel as he could get at this time. And I think that, again, this is his dad, who was a musician, you know, kind of collaborated. We took some ideas from his dad and kind of infused them into it. Right. So, yeah, it's just because
everybody's looking for salvation. Everybody's looking for answers. Everybody wants to find that thing. And he already gave you the prescription for it, right? Go to Paisley Park, right? Come to this place. I've already told you where to come. You're still looking. You're trying to get here. Here's where you can come.
Sure.
And I just thought that, like, I've always liked that about Prince, is that he didn't really ask a lot of questions without giving answers.
Yeah.
And you just had to find where they were.
I think, like you said earlier, this is the altar call.
Yeah.
You know, this is where you identify yourself. So, oh, I need more than what I have.
Right.
And he says, look to God for that. So, I've always loved this record. Always loved this record. Yeah.
All right. So now we have Temptation.
Right.
I love this song. This song is so sexy. Because again, I'm getting my guitar, but I'm getting my
I get it.
This is the Prince I love. That scream, yes.
I get it.
Every time he screams, I just saw that as representative of him coming. Excuse me, I'm sorry for your folks that may be watching. I apologize. I'm the heathen here. Don't blame him. But that's how I always see his.
I get it. I get it. I guess you can look at it through that prism, and it works.
Like what?
Get it. Yeah.
So I mean, I think that kind of folds into this conversation about this spirituality, living right, doing right. What does it mean about our choices? What are we tempted to do? Where are we going? What does it do to us when we give in?
Right.
And I just like it because it's a weird song, and I like weird Prince.
It's okay. I've hated this song since I heard it in 1985.
See,
like I didn't get it until I was preparing for this, and I listened to the whole album straight through, and I began to appreciate that this is about conflict, the inner conflict, which he had. You know, if you go back to some of the Purple Rain tour, he would do the God set on it, where he's communicate with God. I want to be good. And
the end of this song, he's talking to. He's like,
It's
like he's like Jesus in the garden, like kind of like, what's going on? What am I doing? Like, what's happening to me? And he's hearing these things. And he's,
so this isn't a new thing for him.
Right.
Like he has done this before.
Right.
So when I listen to it, that even in Paisley Park in this utopia, we still have these inner conflicts and these conversations we need to have with ourselves and our God, and how we make peace with it. Then I understood it. Still not one of my favorites, but I get it. I totally get it. It makes Prince sense. Like it makes sense.
It makes Prince sense.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
He said, "I'm not talking about any kind of temptation, people." What did he say? Sexual temptation. Like he's very explicit. He's very, very explicit about this.
But he's living in a time where he's very indulgent now.
Yes.
Like, very sexually indulgent.
Yes. And how do I reconcile this with my God stuff?
And he's 26. So think about it. Like he's still trying to form some identity and how he's gonna live out. So yeah, I can understand. It makes total Prince sense.
Well, he's like 28, almost 29, because he was born in 58, right? This is 86. He's a little bit older, but he's in his 20s. Like he's still in his 20s.
Yeah, 20, yeah.
He's getting money. He's getting women. He's coming out of this shell. Yeah. A lot of people don't like that song. I get it. So that was actually how the album ends. It ends on this note of, I'm maybe giving into this, right? So kind of like has us thinking about what's next. What ends up happening next? You get him on a horse, naked on a horse.
Right. Yeah, it is.
Can I just say this? Can I say that I think this is his gospel album?
Sure.
I think this is his full. This is a full gospel album. I think every song on here is in one way or another, arguably, a song. I mean, I would say Tambourine is a diversion from it, but I think for the most part, this is his most gospel kind of themed, his most religious album, his most spiritual album, his most drug-induced album. But I mean, when we think about psychedelico, like a lot of the psychedelic music was always about questioning your existence. It was very existential, very spiritual, very, into that kind of thing. So it makes sense that as he is experimenting with that genre, right, calling on the Beatles in some ways, calling on the Sly Stone and the Sly Stones in some way, really kind of tapping into that Parliament, like pop life, very Parliament funkadelic. You know what I mean? Like he's tapping into these people who also have music that really transcends consciousness, right? And so there is this kind of struggle, there's this journey, what have you, but ultimately Prince reminds you that his connection is with like Jesus. Yeah. And here he's like saying, this is my connection to Jesus, is what it looks like. And this is what I'm experiencing right now, I think,
I want you to talk a little bit more about, the criticism that this is the Beatles album. you know, it's just Beatles tribute album.
Yeah, I heard that nonsense. I get it. But I think people were looking at the cover art. They were looking at the imagery. They were looking at his status as like this international rock star. Again, he's starting to get mobbed now. People were looking at it in that way. And I thought, I don't know why, right? Because Michael had just did the song with Paul McCartney. Like, focus on that. You know, like Michael came from the Jackson 5, which had that kind of same global kind of thing. I think that he was unfairly criticized for this, and they were saying that he was trying to go back to the 60s and things like that. People didn't like that. But I think what Prince was also telling us, and as he's always telling us, is that there's nothing new under the sun. Like, I am from these people. I am a son of James Brown. I am a son of Sly Stone. I am a son of, you know, these folks. And anything that I experiment with or try, one, I'm going to be great at it. And 2, I'm going to make it mine. And 3, I have the right to, because I'm an artist. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I found that this album was dismissed because of that. But I also will put it out there to anybody listening. I think the same thing happened with Common's Electric Circus. And I think that now you have people saying, wow, that was a really great album, you know. But when it came out, it was trashed. Everybody's like, what is he doing? Why is he experimenting? He recorded in Hendrix's studio and was giving us all this psychedelica and all this other stuff. People were like, this is whack. Now people listen to it, they're like, oh, that was really great. Yeah. I think sometimes some things take people a moment to appreciate. And so I think,
again, to go back, right? It gets lost because Purple Rain is still in the top 10 on the charts.
Yeah.
Like, it is like, you know, he puts this out and he just comes off touring like in May.
He was putting out an album a year at this point, right? Like, you got Purple Rain, then we got this the next year, then we got Love Sexy, then we got Parade. Like, he was putting out an album a year, then we got Sign of the Times. So he was really like hitting us back to back.
And again, Warner did not want him to do this. Yes. You know, they were still working Purple Rain and the tour, and they were raking in that money, and he makes this sharp pivot, which they didn't appreciate. But looking back, I think this is one of his most genius moments.
I think so too.
Like, if he doesn't shake himself from Purple Rain, we don't get past Purple Rain, and we don't see him as the true genius that he is. So in retrospect, like you said, this album stands up with some of the best Prince and the Revolution. And I want to say that, like, I think his best work comes in Community. And I think that as 90s come, the 2000s come, he isolates himself more. But I think Lisa and Wendy made him so accountable to his own genius. And by doing that, I think they they have this body of work that was absolutely pristine.
Yeah.
And so I think so too.
And I think he really made it when he got to MPG. And he said that New Power Generation was his favorite band, his best band ever. And I think that New Power Generation took him to a whole different level, like that he might not have made had he continued on his solo kind of thing after he ripped off the Revolution for this Sign of the Times. And we should have had the Dream Factory, and then we got Sign of the Times because he was like, I don't like you anymore, so I'm just going to re-record everything that we did, and I'm going to steal it and act like I did it myself. But, you know, he's my problematic fave. But I think kind of going with this gospel thing, you wanted to talk about a B-side, For the Tears in Your Eyes. So I have that here. And tell me why you wanted to bring up For the Tears in Your Eyes. For those who don't know, it is a B-side. What was the B-side of?
Hold on.
For people that can, hear this, he's talking about Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about this song. So Prince was asked to be in We Are the World. He's like, no. Instead, he released this song, and all the proceeds from this song went towards the same thing. But he's like, I'm not going to be in this We Are the World nonsense. So I'm doing myself.
Yes.
So it was used for Live Aid.
Yeah, so I mean that's the story, right? Quincy wanted him to be on We Are the World, and he thought it was a whack song. It was like, I'll play guitar on it. Quincy was like, no, we don't need you on guitar. We got this. And so he wanted to contribute a song to the relief aid that was going on in Africa at that time. And so,
and it was on the We Are the World album.
Yeah. So when he thought about, what was going on, he immediately runs to Christ, right? To remind even those
the meek shall inherit the earth.
Yeah, it's very liberation in the frame of liberation theology.
Yes.
That God is for the marginalized, the poor.
Right.
And as he understands and reminds them, it's very explicit. Christ died for you too.
Yeah, it's very much. He references the Beatitudes, and which I think, to me, like the Beatitudes is my favorite part of the New Testament. Because I think that was,
should be for all of us.
I think that was the prescription for humanity, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think him like reminding us, like, you all claim to be Christians, you all claim to be these people, but what are you doing to address this? Let me remind you what Jesus said we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that he did die for us so that we could be alive today and do these things. Like, I think that this was in many ways kind of like, do y'all remember why we're here?
Yeah.
Beautiful song.
Oh. Yeah, and I get offended when people, really question his spirituality, his religion, and his Christianity. Mm-hmm. And it's just because you don't know. If you listen to these records, Holy River, the cross, for the tears in your eyes,
God,
you don't know because you're on the periphery. But when you sit with this music for a long time, his spirituality is very pronounced. Like he's very unapologetic in ways that Michael would never be so transparent about his
because
faith.
Michael was a Jehovah's Witness, and there's a bit of different witnessing that would have to happen in that space.
Yeah,
that's really interesting. I'm just pulling up the next songs that we have because you have some really great ones that you want to talk about. Okay, so this next one, Power Fantastic. Not as many people are familiar with Power Fantastic as I'd like them to be.
Yeah. It went through a lot of transitions, and it finally made it onto an album. But this is Prince and the Revolution.
Yes.
And there's a live version of it. It was released in 1993. And it is sat in the vault for a very, very long time, but it is one of the Revolution's more, with him, the collaborative work on it. And so I think when you hear the writing and you hear the music of it, I just love that he's not alone. And he went through a lot of different renditions of this music, but the one they put out, I think, is so rich, so wonderful. So it's in the Love Sexy era. It's like in between Love Sexy and there was Dream Factory that never came out. Like it was supposed to be on Dream Factory. And so, I just love this record. It made it on the hits and the B-sides.
Yes.
They put it out there.
It's on the hits and the B-sides. For me, this is one of the songs where I'm like, when I say Prince is the greatest balladeer of all time, this is one of the songs that I think of. And I think you and I have had this discussion going back between like whether it's Prince or Stevie, right? So I mean, some days I'm like, Stevie's the greatest balladeer of all time.
I get it.
And I'm still kind of there, but if Stevie were, I don't know. But I think him and Prince, and I think this is one of those songs when I tell people you want to listen to Prince's ballads, you got to listen to Power Fantastic because it's just you're getting the voice, you're getting that sweet like falsetto that he's got, you're getting the keys, you're getting Prince in his like kind of softening. I kind of want to turn it to a song that I love, that I think is important. We're talking about all your songs. Let me give people some a little quick history. I'm going to pull it up on here. Quick history of this song. This song is called Wonderful Ass. It is previously unreleased. Some people had it from the vault. That people steal his stuff or whatever. But this was like not made public for real till last year. When they re-released Purple Rain, the album, as an extended kind of thing, which is just magic, right? Quickly became one of my favorite Prince songs.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you.
40 years of music, this quickly becomes one of my favorite songs. So apparently, this was probably recorded 1982.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 1982 and 94. Inspired by Vanity. You hear Wendy and Lisa on the track, so you know. There's a whole lot of songs from this era that are like this. Extra Lovable is like this. There's some other ones that are very similar in sound and theme and even composition, how Wendy and Lisa are on it. He's singing about women. He's singing about his experiences with women, but the women on the song make the song, kind of what it is. He's actually saying that he's like, I don't sleep around. I don't know what you think about me, but I don't sleep around. And I like you, and I'm telling you that I like you, but you don't believe me because you think I'm this person that's just sleeping with everybody. But it's really interesting that he chooses to focus on the butt. Which makes me think that maybe it's not just about her butt. There's never anything about him.
Right. It makes Prince sense in some kind of way.
Right.
In his own world. Right.
But then sometimes he was really that base.
He could be. He absolutely could be. I love this record.
I just think it's so funky.
I love this record.
Plays well in the car too. Start talking about masturbating. So I bring this up because I think it's important for people to dig a little bit more.
Yeah.
There's so much Prince content out there that and now that like these vaults, how do you feel? Like I just want to take a pause real quick though about this whole like releasing the vault, digging into stuff. Like I don't know. Like I'm conflicted because I'm like, yes, I want to hear it all. I want to know it all. But at the same time, it's like if he wanted us to hear it, he would have given it to us. Like after death and people releasing the stuff, do they have, you know, I don't know. Do they have the right to do this?
Right. So I'm conflicted too. But I had waited, 30-something years to hear the full version of Father's Song. Like, that's probably my favorite Prince record ever. And so I appreciate how they did it. I appreciate letting Lisa and Wendy go back and kind of, layer this music and mix it, remix it, master it again. And if you're going to handle it with care, and, be very, strategitic about it, like this week we got Nothing Compared to You, which we had never heard that version of that song.
I still
before.
haven't listened to it. I'm waiting.
Yeah. So if you, look, if they do it that way and do it right, I'm fine with it. Because I think he was very much resolved that I'm not going to release all this music one day. I mean, he said explicitly, when I'm gone, somebody else is going to release it. And so I'm okay with that. I just don't want it to be like a money grab. Just do it for the fans, do it for the art, make sure that, it's done right and it's cleaned up right. So sonically we can experience what we need to experience. So, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I love the deluxe expanded edition of Purple Rain. I love the way they did it. It gave me some new songs like Wonderful and a couple Possessed, the full version of Possessed we had never heard. So they're giving me and filling in the blanks in some ways, right?
Right. So
all of this music, what he was recording, he just never put out, and so it's taking you back into where his mind was and what was going on. So I'm good with it. Nothing Compares to You is amazing. The version they put out.
I gotta listen to that.
It's his version of it. It's the first version of it, and I thought like they did this right.
Okay.
So. And you ask me that next Tuesday, I might feel
you might feel a little bit different.
Right?
All right. Let's go into another one that you've chosen. Actually, this was on my list too, so I'll let you start it out. This is 17 Days. I want you to tell people like why you chose this, and then I'll say why I chose it. This is such a this song is something else. I can't even.
Yeah.
Prince.
Yeah.
We're both like,
Yeah.
yes. So he said, let the rain come down. The cleansing, healing rain.
Right. So
Oh.
the full title is The Rain Will Come Down, Then You Will Have to Choose. If you believe, look to the dawn, you shall never lose. Right. So it's Prince that makes Prince sense to name a song that. But 17 Days is one of the Purple Rain studio session era tunes. It was the B-side of When Doves Cry.
Mm-hmm.
It was written, he's talking about Vanity. Vanity was supposed to be in Purple Rain. She chose not to be. They subsequently broke up.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he's lamenting about that in his life. It was considered for Purple Rain, but did not fit the kind of aesthetic where they were going. But he had it, and I'm so glad he thought this was a great song. And say, oh, I'm going to put it out, and I'm going to make it a B-sides. Like his B-sides are whole people's careers.
Careers.
Yeah, like
whole career.
Yeah, like 17 Days is as good as a Prince song that you're ever going to hear.
Right.
And it's the revolution, and it gives you that groove, a pop life groove, but it's funky, it's slower, it's sadder,
mm-hmm.
it's
melancholy, like it's
it's all of those things, and I love it particularly when he sings in his natural voice.
Yes.
You know, I mean, he's known for his falsetto,
yes.
but to me, when things are really important to him, he uses his natural.
Yeah,
and
that's interesting.
You know, yeah,
when things
I
are
just
really important. What about Adore though?
Adore is wonderful. It's whimsical, but it ain't this. It ain't my heart.
But you try to say it's not important. I think that, you know, with Adore, he's basically saying the most important stuff he's gonna say about love in that song. I
get it. But the way an Adore is, the way Beautiful Ones is, that beautiful falsetto he had, it sounds and feels differently. Versus, it sounds like he's been crying and drinking on 17 Days. And then I'm all torn up. So let me go in the studio and get this out of me. And that's a very different texture, very different ethos to me.
Okay.
So I'm with you. Adore is iconic. And it's very definitive, defining about what love is. And I'm with you. Great song. But this right here, this 17 Days is just something else.
You had another.
Why'd you choose it?
I chose it because it's a mood. I kind of feel like anybody who's experienced like heartbreak or breakup in which things were not clear, you know, or going through some kind of separation or some confusing point, like I don't know what's happening next. Like my heart is like saying one thing, you're saying another, this kind of unrequited love thing. You're just sitting up in the house, you can't eat, can't sleep. You're just smoking cigarettes, or you drinking, or you getting high. You just like, you cussing them, their name, but then you like, you're crying because I love you, but you cussing them. And it's been, you counting the days since the last time you heard from them. Nowadays, is you counting the minutes since they texted, you know, but you're kind of in that space of like, I called you and you ain't call me back. Like, I know we ain't together, but like, you could at least call me back. Like,
but we all been there, right? So
I think we all been there.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go into this next one, which I was also going to pick. So you chose it as well. So again, I'll let you kind of kick off with why you chose it, and then I'll kind of transition into something else about this song. But tell me why you chose "She's Always in My Hair."
Yeah. So this is it's one of those songs where when it came out, it was recorded in 1983.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it wasn't released till years later. And so, this is his metaphor, right? Like he's great for this. And from what I understand, it was about Susan, right? And
no, it's about Veronica Webb.
Okay.
Yeah, the mom.
It was about one of them. He, you know, it was a rotation.
You know, it was a rotation. Prince had a rotation.
She's always in my head. She's always in my heart. She's always on my mind. I think all of those things can kind of be transposed. And when he writes this, it's sad in some ways. And he's very descriptive about what their relationship is like and what she means to him. And he was never really good at one-on-one, but whatever he felt like, he'll just go and write a song about it and then give it to him. Like, oh, this is what I'm trying to say. So he was excellent at using art as a way to communicate to people around him. And we can say that maybe a little passive aggressive. We could make a whole lot of music about that. But She's Always in My Hair is just a really funky and wonderful song. And it was the B-side to Raspberry Beret. So like it was, recorded 3-4 years earlier and released later. And I'm so glad that, again, She's Always in My Hair may be as good as anything he had done. Like it is iconic, and it is a B-side. Like it wasn't even released as its own single, but when it came out, like Erotic City, like the 17 Days, people who were really students of music and his cult kind of fan following thought like, oh, this is absolutely amazing. And then he gives you your screams and things at the end of it. Like it's all of those things wrapped into one. Great song. Great song.
Yes. I love this song. Definitely, to me, it was a song about platonic friendship that gave us a way of thinking about platonic friendship differently. There's an intimacy there. There's a connection there. There is a statement on women's emotional labor that we perform, that he's kind of acknowledging that like men don't exist and can't function without women's emotional labor, whether it's from a mother, a sister, a daughter, a cousin, a friend, a lover, whatever. It's like how heavily we rely on that. And so he's basically like, he's paying homage to this connection that he has with this woman that is probably not sexual at all. It is a friend who loves him and cares more about him than he cares about himself. And at the times when he's ready to give up on everything. I mean, again, we're thinking in context of like the timing of these songs and things like that, what was going on in Prince's life. And it was kind of like, he needed that. He needed somebody who wasn't a Vanity, wasn't an Apollonia, wasn't a Suzanne, wasn't, was just somebody who could see him for him and recognize when he needed somebody. But also his recognition that he relies on that emotional labor from women. And I think, again, there's so much of his music that speaks to the divine feminine in him and his connection to femininity. And so I just thought this was another song that kind of was like, I fully embrace this feminine presence in my life. And this is just kind of what it is. So I wanted us to kind of quickly go through that, only because we are like running a little bit late and I do have somewhere to go. But we said that we were going to mention like our favorite albums from each decade. And if we could kind of do that kind of quickly, like, I think like, I don't know if you're prepared for that, but like, let's start with like, like the 70s, then go to the 80s, then go to the 90s, what album, if you were to recommend to a fan, like, or somebody who's not a fan, and say, I'm trying to convert you to be a Prince fan. I need you to listen to one of these albums from every decade. Here's the albums I'm going to give you to listen to from the 70s. What would it be?
For You.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. I choose For You because for me, I find that that's album, on every single song, you find an indication of where Prince is going to go in his career.
Yeah.
He comes out the box and he's just like, here I am. This is what you're going to get. And here's how amazing it's going to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. So, and from the 70s, we had For You, we had Prince, and we only had For You and Prince, really, because he then comes out with the 80s. So in the 80s, just to let people know, we had Dirty Mind, Controversy, 1999, Purple Rain, Around the World in a Day, Parade, Sign of the Times, Love Sexy, Batman. Which was your favorite? If you were to recommend to somebody,
I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted because Purple Rain was my introduction to him, and I think it's such a template for where he was at that time, his songwriting, his musicianship, all those different kind of things. And so I it's hard for me to not say Purple Rain. But if I'm going to choose, you only have one from that decade. I think Sign of the Times it kind of embodies all of his artistic collaborations with the Revolution. They're not as prominent in it, but you still hear their influence on it. So I'm gonna go with Signs.
You know, if I'm recommending an album, you know, I think Sign of the Times is always one that I just generally just recommend to people. I'm gonna go with Parade. Parade is my favorite Prince album. And
really?
Yeah, that's my favorite Prince. I told you this before. I said Parade is my favorite, but I think Sign of the Times is the best. But again, I think my issue with Sign of the Times is that he stole it. So I'm conflicted about it. It's like you're taking credit for stuff that you didn't do. And so
he always did that.
Right. But I mean, like, this was blatant. Like, how do you rip off a whole album? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go with Parade. I think I thought it was genius. I thought this creation of this alternate persona, which he'd done a few times, right? This Christopher Tracy character. I think he was really experimental with things. I think if we think Around the World in a Day was experimental, I think Parade was. When you think of mountains of things, life can be so nice. You know, Under the Cherry Moon, it's like sometimes it snows in April. Like, come on, girls, like everything. I think from there, like he had the hit song Kiss, and everybody knows that. But even that song was still like, you know, it was just not what we were hearing. So I think the Parade, if I wanted people to hear an album from the 80s that I think really touched on like all the different genres and or most of the genres that he was capable of, I think it was Parade. Whereas I think Purple Rain was kind of this way and, you know, whatever. All right. So the 90s brought us Graffiti Bridge, Diamonds and Pearls, the Love Symbol album, Come, which I think is an underrated album, The Gold Experience, Chaos and Disorder, Emancipation, Crystal Ball, The Vault, Old Friends for Sale, Raven to the Joy Fantastic. Oh, man, that's a little tough. Now, just for people that know, Emancipation is a 3-album joint. Crystal Ball was like 4 or 5 albums, depending on how you got it. Crystal Ball contains a lot of the Dream Factory stuff that Prince stole and didn't put on side of the top. Chaos and Disorder, you got the Gold Experience. So this is when he starts working with the New Power Generation.
And most people didn't get the disc, the 4th disc, the Kama Sutra disc.
Yes.
Which is one of mine.
Whew, beautiful. You put me onto that one.
It's all instrumental. It's all instrumental. So it's its own disc, and it's absolutely wonderful. I'm going to go with Diamonds and Pearls. I think Diamonds and Pearls sonically is his best album. Like, to listen to how clear, pristine, how beautiful this music was. The songs don't match his musicianship on it. So
that's a great point.
Yeah, like the songs weren't that good, but his musicianship on this album is pristine and beautiful. And I think sonically, it holds up to just about anything he's ever done. Is weighted down. Like, I think Parade is weighted down by A Horrible Movie, and that's why people overlook it. But I'm going to go with Diamonds and Pearls.
Diamonds and Pearls. I'm going to go with Diamonds and Pearls. I agree with you, and that's why I wouldn't pick it, because lyrically the album's whack to me.
I get it.
I'm going to go with Graffiti Bridge. Graffiti Bridge is an album I come back to all the time. And for me, it was hard between Graffiti Bridge and Emancipation. The thing is, my favorite Prince song, like, is on Graffiti Bridge. And it's Tick Tick Bang.
What's that? That's Joy?
Tick Tick Bang.
I have to go listen to that.
Tick Tick Bang.
You would have said Joy.
No, so Joy and Repetition was long one of my, like, was like it. It was like, this is it, this is it. But Tick Tick Bang, like, I don't know what happened. I turned 35, and all of a sudden, it was just like, this song is everything. Why are people listening to this song? This song is great. But again, it kind of goes back to I love the weird screaming Prince. I love when Prince is just like, you know, Tick Tick Bang is about having sex and an orgasm. Like that's exactly what the song is, an orgasm itself.
Okay. All right.
It's not even about an orgasm. It is an orgasm. Like he literally says, "When I tick tick bang all over you." Like it's a great song. Yeah, but I think Graffiti Bridge was marred by a movie that was just garbage. But you have Thieves in the Temple. You have you have Question of You. You have Elephants and Flowers. You've got Joy and Repetition. You've got Tick Tick Bang. You've got Release It. Like you've got.
Is 7 on that album?
No.
Okay.
I think that's on the Gold Experience.
Okay.
But you've got songs on there that are just like, these are great songs. And then you've got Morris. You've got what's the name? What's his name? Mavis Staples. You've got George Clinton on it. You've got Tevin Campbell on it. Like, pretty good album. You know,
I'll have to go re-listen.
You have to go back to Graffiti Bridge. I think it's one of his underrated albums. Okay, from the 2000s. And not to sleep on Raven to the Joy Fantastic either. I went to that. No. That was a decent album. Rainbow Children, One Night Alone, Expectation, and News came out the same year. Musicology, The Chocolate Invasion, Slaughterhouse. A lot of people slept on that. 3121, Planet Earth, Lotus Flower. I'm going to go from that one. This is tough. I don't even like mentioning the Rainbow Children. Because I'm like that album didn't happen. I'm gonna go with 3121. Okay, here's why I chose 3121 over Musicology. 3121 has the dance, which to me is the greatest ballad Prince has made within the last 20 years of his career.
Okay,
just gonna put that out there. So 3121 came out in 2006. So for me, between 1996 and 2006, The Dance is the best ballad he had. It was beautiful. It was haunting. It was wonderful. It was amazing. Anybody that's heard it, it's amazing. 3121 was funky. He did a whole residency in Las Vegas around 3121. It was amazing. I just think it's a great, great album. Te Amo Corazon, Black Sweat. Come on, like Black Sweat. Prince was like, don't forget, I'm black. Like I'm a black man. I'm gonna do my thing. He gave us that funk. He gave us that R&B. He gave us like that black soul sound in Black Sweat. It was a great album for me.
Okay. All right.
What you gonna go with?
I'm gonna go with Musicology.
Okay.
And it's sentimental for me because I went to the Musicology tour, and so I heard him perform most of these records live, and I think that was such a revival at that time for his career. And I think they're all elements of what was best about Prince on the record. The ballads, the funk, the grooves, the writing was
now
smart.
Musicology. The song was
so like I think it just reminded everybody. I can still do this. I'm Prince, and in an oversaturated market with hip hop and everything, he came.
Oh right, please believe it. I'm still Prince. Yes.
Yeah, and we was like, yeah, you sure are, and this is why.
Right.
So yeah, Musicology is I'm gonna pick that.
And then the last years that we had him with us, we got 2010, we got Plectrum Electrum, we got Artificial Age. Those came at the same time. We had the Hit and Run Phase 1, and then we had Hit and Run Phase 2. And those were in 2015. And that was it, really. Like in terms of like official albums, that was it. I'm gonna go with Artificial Age. That album, I was like, thank you for still existing. Like, and I don't think that people really like. A lot of people like Plectrum Electrum more because it was very like it was more rock. It was more whatever. And I got it. Like I get what they were saying, but for me, Artificial Age. Like Prince was showing us that he was still kind of like tuned into like pop culture. Like he had the song, he was like, this could have been us, but remember that whole theme? Like this could have been us, what you playing? Like he made a whole song about it. He's like, this could have been us. But the breakdown to me, I heard that song. This song brought tears to my eyes. And I'm like, this man could still bring tears to my eyes. After all these years. And so the breakdown, if people have not heard the breakdown by Prince, he's got a line in there where he says, give me back the time, you can keep the memories, right? I was like,
Prince, I mean,
like you still writing, you still writing. Nobody is writing like this man right now, right?
No.
So yeah, that was for me, and I still listen to Artificial Age. There's at least 3 or 4 songs in there that I listen to. So for me, that's the one.
I'm gonna go off script because I think in the last years, the song that influenced me more, I had more fun to, was Baltimore. I don't think that made it on the album. Yeah. I think we just released it as a single. And that was in the vein of Sign of the Times. That was in the vein of Pop Life, just making this social critique and holding us accountable. And, you know, we understand what that was, what birthed that. And again, he was very much part of that movement, Black Lives Matter, and understood what that meant and lent his artistry to that. And there wasn't a lot of artists doing that at that time. Like, Prince is very courageous. And in some ways in which very different from Michael.
Right.
And I'm not saying better, but very different. He wore that very different. And so if you haven't heard Baltimore, I think you should.
Yeah.
You know, his last recordings, I think
that was after Freddie Gray was killed.
Yeah.
And he really kind of took the James Brown approach. You know, when Dr. King was killed, and James Brown used his concerts to kind of
Boston. Yeah, he actually went to Baltimore and did a free concert.
Did the concert and stuff.
You know,
and I think that was Prince's legacy. Like, no matter what, 1, I'm still Black. I've always been Black. Don't ever worry about that. 2, I care about my people, and I make this music for our people. And then when you would listen to his interviews and even comments that he would make at award shows and things like that, Prince always has something to say about something, whether it was about the recording industry, whether it was about racism, whatever it was. Prince made it known. He was just like, I know my platform, and I know the power that I can have. And when he used to be notoriously quiet, in his older age, in the second half of his career, he was like, you know, silence no more. Like, I can't be. And I really appreciated that. So I think we can kind of wrap this up. I'm going to say, honestly, we got at least 50 minutes recorded. So I think that's good. And broadcast. I think we only missed like the first few songs from around the world in a day, but it's all right. We do have this. We will share this with people. We do have the YouTube link. We'll share it. I just want to say, like, 1, there's nobody I love talking about Prince more with than you. And so thank you for sharing your morning with me.
I feel the same way.
Yay. We're all like Prince out.
I get it.
It's like here. It's like, and I think that we really could do this like every week if we wanted, and just kind of like, we could go album through album. We could do this because there's so much there. But the fact is that Prince brings people together, and I love that. I remember the first time I read your book and it was all purple, and I was just like, who must like Prince?
That's why, hey, I did that for him. Yeah, it's my tribute.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
it was.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Patrick, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're wonderful. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day celebrating Prince, loving Prince, remembering his music and his legacy.
Yeah.
All right. Let me
Peace out.
How do I turn this off now? Hold on.